better the gravity of the research that's sort of relevant to rewatching and reruns and watching our favorite show and that sort of thing. So I did a first literature review, kind of just covering as much as I could that was looking at empirical studies that had tested something, experimental designs ideally, and found about 19 or so studies that were pretty relevant and on topic. I mentioned last week it's interesting to see how different geographies and areas will kind of look at rewatching and reruns in slightly different ways, with some research coming out of, say, Asia, for example, that will consider rewatching and reruns, even watching the same show, even if it's different episodes. So the definition can certainly vary sometimes. There's a little bit of research that has been done in the realm of like how often people rewatch content. Some studies will say over 90%. The effects seem to vary from time to time. Like it seems like suspense as an emotion will diminish with repetition of rewatching content, but enjoyment itself seems to remain pretty stable, at least for content that we enjoy consuming. There's a lot of different research on things like loyalty to content, building social relationships with characters that you see on screen, and so forth. So I kind of took all of that and I put it in Zotero. I'll admit that I had previously been pretty comfortable with EndNote. Zotero was a bit of a new one for me, so that was an interesting experience, but pretty cool. And now I'm just kind of looking at some adjacent literature. I think I captured most of the bigger ones that seem to have really strong empirical designs. And there's a little bit of research on sort of surrounding concepts. Mere exposure effect, for example, the principle of least effort. There's a few different effects and paradoxes of choices that have come up. All relevant, but not necessarily directly connected to reruns. So it might be more useful in like a contextual model. Anyway, all that just to say that I've kind of done 2 weeks of lit review. I've put most of it in that Zotero now. And then perhaps maybe we'll get a chance to talk a little bit more about that research if it's helpful to you once they get on the other side of the bug.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Oh,
Did
Andrew, sorry, you are so smart. Welcome to the team, bro. I like Andrew being here.
I like you too, Jesse. Thank you.
Go team.
did you get my invitation to Zotero?
I did, yeah. I didn't want to touch
Okay,
your main folder, so I created a subfolder and put mine in there. But certainly,
I
whatever you
see.
need, I'll
Okay.
get it to you. Yeah.
And Andrew, not to put you on the spot, but would you be able to share your screen? I don't know if you're on the same device that you were working on it from, but just show the team how
Does
you.
it tell itself, or
Yes, because just in the interest of showing everyone how that works.
I totally can. Just a moment. This is also my work laptop, so I just want to make sure I've got all this stuff out of here. But yeah, no problem at all.
Great. And for anyone listening on the recording while Andrew's doing that, so the reason this project came up and he's getting research credit for the lab is because of the Compass paper we had, a team of us had submitted. That was essentially supposed to be a summary of what's known in this area. And the feedback we got from the reviewers was that they didn't feel that there was perhaps enough body of research done to publish essentially a state of the research. And so we asked Andrew if he could help us summarize some of the articles we've been working from so that we can maybe reformat the paper to more explicitly show the research that's been done. We probably overemphasized the gaps rather than focusing on what has been done.
Yeah, so just very high level. I'm hoping you can see the screen, but this is just sort of our working draft of Zotero here. The big lab, of course, being up top with some separate research, but when we get to repeat watching, all of our research is kind of amalgamated in one spot. I just created another folder because I didn't want to interrupt Josh's literature review with my own, but certainly we'll create some subfolders from there. Just a matter of going through and creating the entries, much like you would an EndNote file or something like that. It should pull citations on its own. I haven't downloaded the app on this computer, so I can't show you the attaching PDFs and that sort of thing. That's certainly a function of having it on the computer. But yeah, it's just sort of a summary page. You can include abstract and notes that I will try to as best as I can. Sometimes for tags, of course, the one I show doesn't have. But those will just be relevant for the later analysis and how we're hoping to connect it. And then I include the tag, so it's a quick search for later. There are 17 of the empirical studies in here so far. I had emailed a copy of a literature review as well to Josh and Dr. Shackelford a bit earlier that has kind of the broader lit review and all the separate adjacent studies and effects. So I'll add those in there, I guess, as we deem them most relevant. But this is just kind of what the folder looks like right now and how we're capturing all the research. Awesome.
Thanks, Andrew. Really appreciate that.
No problem.
Have you guys considered phrasing it less as a maybe a literature review and maybe more as a theoretical piece, right? Trying to essentially just instead of being like, here's what we know about rewatching, being like, psychologists haven't categorized rewatching as a behavior. So we're going to try to inform a working model or a working theory of rewatching as a behavior. Maybe that would overcome some of those comments of there's not enough to do a review. Well, it's not so much a review as it is trying to start to put together this construct. I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense or if you guys had
Well,
tossed that around.
I honestly, I think that is kind of more what we did, and there
Mhm.
was like, for these articles, we don't do that. So I think we
That's
could
fair.
take that to another journal, or even make it like a book chapter. But their point was, our goal is to, and I think it's changed a little bit since, because Karen had published one of their most popular pieces in 2016, I think it was, just around her
Mhm.
psychology stuff.
Yeah.
But they came back and said, like, we're looking for it to be more like, you must show, the goal for our readers is to summarize an area of research that's been done that they don't have time to go in depth read about.
That makes
So,
sense. So it's a little bit at odds with what the request sort of was. That makes sense.
yes, and part of it was like between when the abstract was accepted and when we submitted it, they changed editors for that part of the journal, because that journal has different sections.
Yeah.
Just other factors had changed, and it's one of those things where, like, typically they don't reject when they get an invited article, but it's also, I think, fair enough that based off of the first draft that they accepted as an invited article, they wouldn't have been able to tell necessarily the state of the research. And so originally we just weren't going to resubmit at all. But Karen decided that since we have some resources within this lab, maybe we just use this. And if, it results in a published version, great. If not, we at least have a really strong repository now, because we also didn't have that built into our research data
Yeah.
with a strong
Yeah.
of all the articles that we've been talking about. Hopefully this will help us too when we're doing our manuscript writing for the case study.
Yep. Yeah, eventually, you guys are gonna have a whole spiel, the same way the media violence people have there's a very clear kind of script that everyone follows when they talk about it, and this just doesn't have it yet, but one day you will. And so I'm really interested to see that, but makes sense why the little bit of the discrepancies there, and yeah, the changing of editor will always, one person has an idea or a perspective or an understanding or agreement on something, and another person comes in and they don't have any of that, right? So that makes sense.
Perfect. Well, why don't we talk about the poster?
Yay.
And Angel, should I turn over to you?
One thing I want to say before I let Jesse and Ross completely take over on the design part, we finished the abstract, and the two of them are working on, like I said, the graphic part of it. One thing I am having trouble with is LIWC is a program that Karen suggested for the qualitative analysis, which I ran through SPSS, but it did not give the single positive combined score, positive tone of responses that she wanted. It gave individual scores of all of the components of our survey that were positive. So that's the part she said, well, Google it, maybe run some AI. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm working on. And she said if I didn't have it done when she got back, then during her office hours, she would review that with me. So Jesse and Ross, I'm working on your tables. They're coming. You guys want to give an update? Ross, have you had a chance to jump in?
Yeah. Sorry. So I have shared, there's two trying to so I feel a little bit like an agitator. Well, I don't know. So if we dig into all of the poster design that the that Fielding offers, they skew between what they consider new, which is quite a bold and unique one, which is a guy called Michael Morrison out of Iowa. It's regarded and sold by or noted by Fielding as new, and that is one big bold statement. And his is a behavioral response to how people interact with posters as they're walking past, which is one big bold positive statement about what you found, and then you wrap it with accessible information on the leading side and the deeper data on the other side. The reason being, people in the talk about yours, so it's a really customer first sort of a thing. So I've mapped out a version of it. I've borrowed it. There's a fantastic. I don't know, you guys. I assume anyone who's done a poster has seen this version. No, have we seen this, or are we all lots of columns of text like a newspaper?
Do you want to share your screen, Ross?
Let me
Yeah,
just.
Ross I think, Ross, did you copy the whole lab on that when you shared the link?
No, I just did ask because it was.
I would send it to the lab.
Okay, so let me.
Or in the chat, maybe. It's really good. While he's pulling that up, I just want to say it's more like a movie poster that we need.
Can I share for a second? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I can share the two designs. So I went through looking at all of it because I've come from working with designers, and they talk about stripping back the number of colors, no images that you don't need, even right down to sans serif fonts, not serif fonts, because serif fonts require more. They're more cluttered. There's a whole lot of stuff that in this space. So if I'm allowed to share, can I share? Yep.
Should be able to.
So I'm going to share this. So this is regarded as the new model of a research poster, right? It's a big statement in the middle that people walking along a path of them will see. And there's a video presentation by this PhD psych student or PhD graduate out of Iowa for research posters with 1.3 million views. That's how big it is when you compare that most of them have 200 views. So this has 1.3 million views, and he talks about what happens is most people come past, they try and make heads or tails of all the density of the material. They then try and talk to the guy and ask what it's all about, when he says what you want to do is explain what we've done. So make a statement about what we've done, and then on the left-hand side, the leading side, you would talk about the things that are much more accessible to read. And on the right-hand side, you would talk about the data. You would actually have the crunchy data pieces and any references and all of the rest of it. So that's one approach. Fielding refers to this as the new approach, right? So we can mock up the colors, change the colors to be more Fielding, but they're very clear. No more than 2 or 3 colors, no Times New Roman, all of that sort of stuff distracts from reading. No images that don't directly relate to what you're trying to sell. And you'll see down the bottom there, very, very easy to identify who was part of it, who worked on it, just by working with one single font and playing very carefully with it. So that's that's our version of what would be regarded by Fielding as the new style.
Can I offer some support for you, Ross, in finding this? When you sent me the link, I did some research, and this has been adopted by Stanford, Penn State, a lot of the bigger universities. The idea is that, especially in a live conference presentation, people can go by, scan at a distance, and absorb much more of the research that's being presented in a short amount of time. Yep. They talked about the frustration of having to do that when there's a lot of text. It's hard.
And what I'll do is there's a video, there's a 30-minute video. He explains the psychological principles behind this being the most engaging format in the environment of posters, because it encourages people to talk. And what we're really trying to do is kind of hook people into chatting with Stephen when he's on the floor, and giving them the easiest way in to talk to him, even if it's not their thing. Oh, there you go. There's the
Right.
thing. So then the alternate, if I'm going to stop share and I'm going to share you another alternate, which is similar to, it's based on ones that Fielding has also recommended. It's one of the Fielding. Now this is, oh crikey, there is a version of it which I've adapted for us, but it's not the one here. This is the base level. So, but effectively, this is a little more classic. It's a sequence of the traditional steps that you would go through an APA paper. Let me see if I can pull up our version. Let me stop sharing for a second, because I had shared a version for those of us that were working on it. Where is it?
I put a couple of the document as well. That's helpful. Also, I love that you use crikey like in a real sentence. That brought me so much joy.
I'll try and where is it? There's a ironically, and I will say this. So I am going to share something with you, just for the between us sort of a thing, which is this one. Right. So I don't know when the last time was that any of you actually checked in on creating Fielding's research poster. Their posters here avoid everything that they talk about in the posters. So they mix images, they add clutter, they mix fonts, they do everything they tell you not to do, but they actually do it. So this style, which is how they've told us what to do, like all caps, all of that sort of stuff, different fonts on every page. Some pages have graphics, some pages don't have graphics, some have backgrounds, some don't. This is almost a what not to do in a presentation, but the text in here tells you what to do. So I almost want to go through and do a new one for them. Let me try and find SharePoint, because we had shared the updated.
Aaron's here. Hi, Aaron.
Version.
Finally here to lurk.
Hey, Aaron.
She is an Uber editor, so my job might be in jeopardy.
Right, here we go. So let me just share this. So this is adapting that second, slightly older style, putting some Fielding colors to it, changing the Fielding names, and then we would introduce and fill out our own pieces like this. Steve is ultimately the one who's going to be presenting it, so he's got to be comfortable with which of these. I am uncomfortable with adding any more clutter than this. I'm comfortable editing this because I think it's simple, clean, and it uses all the principles of design. So that's just kind of where we are at this point. And in this case, it's a lot of it would be, we're simply borrowing a template and filling it out for ourselves and putting it in our own colors. And that then brings us to what do we want to include from the pilots. And I may have missed, I think I might have missed one class. So one of my questions, because I understood that the data had been reviewed several times, was whether there was a final fixed version that was going to qualify for presentation.
Yeah, I think the deadline is the 15th that we have to have it completed. So I was going to suggest if we didn't meet today, that we
Yes,
meet
I'm happy to do that. Yep.
as soon as Stephen is available. I think, Perry, did you say he's coming the next hour?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can discuss it with him. Ross, do you have the version of the new style?
Of the new style, let me just let me
I
just
sent you an email with a graphic for the center because I thought you and Jesse could go to town.
yeah, so there's different versions of the new style there. That if we decide to do that big central statement and then wrap it around with the material that goes with.
Sure. First of all, great work, Ross. Bravo. So thorough in just the back end of it all and like what to expect and all that. So it looks great. So I think moving forward, as we continue to fill this in and make it more robust, are we gonna like break up the sections and have everyone kind of write a little piece or to get the verbiage in, and then maybe you are the one in charge of like putting it in and formatting it all? Does that sound doable or?
Well,
I'm relinquishing design to Ross.
well, I think from memory, from once we agree, and I think Steve has to have a final say because he's presenting it.
I'll be there too.
I
Don't
had-
get it twisted. I'll be
Okay,
there
all
too.
right.
We need
I
you.
be
to,
like a ringleader.
I-
Come on.
I had looked at discussion. I'm uncomfortable doing results because I haven't done APA results and tables and data. So I'm comfortable doing discussion and some of the introduction. I'm happy to pull that together, but I'm uncomfortable doing the other parts, which I know we split up in that other class where we were presenting the different pieces.
Yeah,
So
I know I was working on the results section, so I'm happy to continue that and meet with Karen or whoever else is in the kind of the results group to kind of get that
Yep.
chunk going. Because I'm even kind of confused on what we're actually including in this. Like, how are we doing pilots? Are we not doing pilots? Are we only doing pilot? Like, and so
oh,
yeah,
I'll answer
yeah.
that would be helpful.
The first part is we'll only do pilots.
right.
Mm.
Right, for the poster. Can I just, Ross, interrupt just momentarily to share the little graphic?
Yep. I'm out.
It has screw ups in it because it's AI generated, but it's based on the idea because I got real excited. So let me show you.
Oh my God, Perry, look at that.
I just put it in the chat. Here, I
So
can-
good.
So
Wow.
I have not gone through the Fielding official like research presentation materials from Katie from this year, and
That's
I
fantastic.
don't know how they feel currently about people going super off script. But when I did this presentation in 2023,
Oh,
it really is all about all you're trying to do is drive someone's attention. Now, I still ended up putting more text than I normally would, just because I also wanted to keep this as like a record, and I didn't want to have like
Right.
materials. But really, the point of a poster, all you're trying to do is get somebody to stop, look for a couple seconds, and go, "Oh wait, what?" And then you start talking.
right. Oh, you go, Perry. That's fantastic.
And
I
So if
don't
you
know.
want to be
Is the,
provocative in your visual,
and
Ooh.
that's fantastic. And that kind of steps away from the standard APA. I mean, I know you've captured it all in there, but it's very human. That's very cool.
so
I
if-
love it.
Yeah, I'd have to check. I don't know if you know, Andreas, if how Fielding currently feels about not using their templates, but I don't have a problem
I
with it.
mean,
well,
my read on it, I did a poster last session with Katie Kelly, and my read on it, we kind of broke some of the rules, and no one really cared. So that would be my encouragement to all of you is the poster design is, as Perry said, it's more about just trying to think, in what way can we grab people's attention? And here at Fielding, we're all about trying out stuff. So if you have a particular idea in mind, that will make it, more interesting or more interactive, then I think that that's something to definitely center, literally or figuratively, when you're thinking about your poster. I don't think anybody's going to be coming and being like, it's not the big color block in the middle. So, I don't think that's going to be the case.
can you guys see my screen?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, this is a preview of an email that I sent to our poster team. This is not me, this is an AI, but I was trying to get down to what is the bare bones to treat it like movie posters. I once worked for the US Chinese film boards, and Chinese posters have a lot of text. They're very narrative. And when you look at them, you cannot read them. Whereas Americans treat the posters as a sales piece. It's a marketing of an idea. And so here, this part that's in the red, that would be that central position that Ross showed as the template of the new format, which is how do we say what is our result that's interesting, or what did we investigate that's interesting? What's our main point as briefly as possible? So that's where familiar TV themes equal nostalgia. I don't know if I'm uncomfortable with the equal sign. Maybe an arrow might be a little clearer. That's up to you guys to weigh in. But here are the 3 things that we had in our summary of our pilot posters. And then these areas down here would be on what Ross was explaining is on the left side. Could be all of it on the left side, but also in the center with this main idea is some simple graphic that conveys the idea in a glance. And so that's what got me excited. I was like, oh, I know marketing, I know advertising, this will sell. This will get eyeballs and will get people engaged. And like you said, that's exactly what we want. But I know that Jesse and Ross have their own flair. So that's why I say.
Honestly, it's like all Ross. I am not in the design aspect. I'm happy to help with I just honestly did it because I was bored and I have a Canva account. But like,
well,
hands off for me. We're good. Take it.
I was so inspired at first when he sent me just the template. I was completely baffled. What is this? And it looks like we did nothing was my fear. You know, I have a tendency to overdo, but I've learned that you can overdo on the back end, but what you present is the tip of the iceberg, and it's edited so cleanly. Erin, you might want to jump in and say something about editing, making a point better.
No, I was just having a visual idea. As a first-time lurker, not knowing very much about this, if there are specific TV show themes that you're discussing in it, a really easy thing would be a screenshot of, I'm just going to use X-Files because that's my favorite show, is Mulder and Scully. And you could have a simple line like, can you hear it in your head? Like, can you hear the theme song? Like, I don't know if may not be work with what you have, but if it's a really famous theme song and it's like the shark in Jaws, like donna donna, and you can write that out, like Netflix writes out ta-dum as their thing, like that simple question, can you hear it in your head, kind of gets at what your question is, and then of course they have to read the actual details.
That's more engaging, I think. Jesse did that for us in the abstract by talking about how what were the 2, Jesse, that you picked? The 2?
I think Friends theme song and like the clap when you hear it, and like Golden Girls and like being in your grandma's room or your living room or something like that. You know, some highly recognizable ones, just like you said, to get people kind of in. And is it appropriate to bring like a Bluetooth speaker and play all these theme songs on loop, get people in that way? Is that a vibe or no?
I think that'd be one thing I have to say is being in media, I feel like we have a little more license for flair than maybe some of the other specialties in psychology. So if we had a photo from famous show, you know, I know that from advertising, if you have human faces, especially those looking at the viewer with a lot of emotion, that is the most engaging thing.
So you're saying Stephen and I should dress up like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
That is actually exactly what I heard. You probably can't go as far as audio, but certainly feel free to put, you know, photos from the shows that people used or that people listened to on the poster.
That's cool. Stephen, we're talking about the poster, and we're deferring to you to be a decision maker as a presenter in some things. So I'm sorry you missed all our lathering.
Oh, well, I have about 40 minutes to catch up on the recording, so sounds good.
Maybe more like 30 or 35 by the time we hit record, but yeah.
Yeah.
Andreas remembered, I forgot.
Barely, I barely remember. Don't give me too much credit. But yeah. You also got volunteered for a costume, so you will have
Yeah, Fresh Prince, right? I think I'm more Carlton speed, unfortunately, but
I was gonna say you're definitely Carlton and I'm Will.
yeah. These days I feel more like what's the dad's name?
Oh,
Phil? Is it
Yeah.
Phil?
Yeah, Phil. Yeah, I think that's right.
well, Stephen, we were talking about the new style for the posters. And you saw all the emails back and forth. Did you have a chance to look at Ross's link?
I did not. I'm sorry, Ross. I been
So we,
so
well,
back-to-back busy.
just a quick summary, just a quick snapshot. I went, because I've never done a poster before. I went back and studied what Fielding recommended, which includes a newer and an older. But before that, I would defer you to Perry's poster in chat of what Perry did, which is even bolder, right? And doesn't include what we might consider standard APA categories of methodology. I mean, I'm sure it does in there, but on the face of it, you can't see that. On the face of it, it's very everyman, layman. I don't know the speciality, but I can see what you're trying to do. So
Did someone repost that actually?
it's
When I
on.
sign in, when I
It's in.
sign in, it doesn't
Yeah,
let me
he
go
signed in.
backwards on the chat.
I can stick it back in there, Steve.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
thank you.
On his link, what I just want to say to you all to encourage you to take a peek, the link of the guy explaining why traditional stuff is bad and what would be good. He does it, it's in animated drawings.
Mm.
And he talks really fast, but it's hilarious. And you'll be nodding through the whole thing. It's quite entertaining.
You feel like you've been through a poster session if you've never done one. It's
Right.
like, that makes perfect sense. I can imagine, and how they're trying to figure out what it was, but not catch the attention of and standing there and get dragged into a conversation they don't want to know about, figure out what it is, and then skip past to something they want to find out about. And they quite an interesting his summary of it's quite funny. So then, Steve, not that this is by any means setting anything standard. I err in favor of simplicity. Obviously, we can dress it up with a little less, a little more. And I'll just Fielding notes. This is what's considered the new style, which some other universities have spoken about, which is having a single big bold statement in the middle, maybe a graphic, and then wrapping around with material. And the more accessible material is on the left, and you would be standing on the right. And if people really want to dig into the data and we really want to publish the data, then that would be on the right-hand side. So that's...
I would like to see the middle headline shorter.
Yeah, okay.
And featuring a graphic to really grab attention.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit torn with the graphic because I struggle with it looking old, because all the material we would have access to is old and we would date it, and I like this to look modern. So what Perry did with his graphic was to make the subject look very modern. But I think as soon as we have a photo of even the OC or a relatively modern show, we date it back 20 years. Because
can you come up with a graphic? I know you've done some AI unique ones that you've prompted. Can you do something new and unique that's still engaging?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And then Stephen, then the other Stephen, is he gone?
I'm here.
Okay.
Here.
And then
some water. Yeah.
The other relatively simple version that adheres to all of the new principles. Well, no, not that one. It is wait a minute. It's not that one. Stop sharing. It is this one. So this adheres to contemporary principles of design, which short of getting the cool stuff done like Perry had, is to, again, use simple blocks, only no more than 3 colors. If you want to put a little bit of visual in, you do, but you structure it in a very simple step-through way with a very simple, very specific set of fonts and all of the rest of it, which draw engagement. And so that's, I'm just borrowing from a template that's on one of the Fielding reference sites. And so again, anytime we add, which is interesting when you're studying nostalgia, time you add anything from the past, you haul the imagery all the way back to that time.
Mhm.
And I feel, for me, I'm confronted by that. That kind of ages our research.
I still like the most modern one. If it's being adopted by Stanford and Penn State and it has over 1 million views, everybody knows about it. So I don't want to look like we're clueless and still insisting on the old traditional for no other reason.
Well, remember too that this is a Fielding session.
Mhm.
It's possible. Well, all our names will be on this. That will go in your CV and Orchid and all that. But the main population is Fielding, right? And so just if we can adhere to their guidelines, then I'm
Well,
sure that's
Fielding is
fine.
the one that shared the link, right, Ross?
Yeah, these are the 2
Oh,
variations
God.
of Fielding's. There's the new style, which it acknowledges, and then there's the more traditional style, which is the other one, which is more like pages of a newspaper with several columns and so on. And then Perry showed us this very bold view, which ignores all of that and is instantly engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like what I saw there.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
take
me
the new
too.
style, you can play with that, right? That center part can become your graphic, whether it's a TV with music notes, images
Yep.
of shows in the
I'd
TV.
be
whatever.
more than happy to, I'd be more than happy to have a play with that idea. If we felt we wanted to add the blocks. Perry, if you want to pull up your pull up your one into the main screen.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
always
something about, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say the first one, although it's, provided by Fielding and it has all these things, it's just giving like 1995 word processor to me. And I just am like, I know we're better than this. Like, I understand these are what the standards are, but I'm like, boring, but that's just me.
I mean, I struggle with that with APA style as well. It's almost all it's like 95% function and 5% form. You could push it around a little bit, especially here at Fielding for like dissertation writing. This I feel like is very easy to read. It's got a central thesis and visual style, that is, and it's just like you could easily kind of figure it out. I guess does it meet the requirements of showing all those elements according to their, I mean, if Perry, you're presenting it, I feel
I
very
mean,
confident.
and this one was not a research, like a specific study, so take that with a grain of salt too. I would say start with that newer template, and then, but feel free to adapt to meet your needs. Don't feel super beholden to it. Don't overthink it. No one who's attending the Fielding session is going to come after you because of the look of your poster.
And we are submitting the draft. So if there was a problem with the draft, I think Katie would
Right.
tell us. Since it really helps that Fielding is the one that gave us the link to the new style. So whether we do the center vertically or horizontally, like Perry did, I think the main point is there's a main point headline.
Yep. Something
Engaging visually. We can talk about what. And then there's a lot of white space. That was a big point. Perry's has a lot of white space too. So at a glance, you can see what you might want to look and actually read where that would be. So we can work on editing it to be brief. One thing that I thought was really important is, Perry's got it too, is there's a QR code.
Yep.
And so the idea is you hit the high notes, and then the QR code accompanies also a handout. So they can get the handout from the QR code, or on the spot, Stephen, you could have a handout where it goes deeper if they want more information.
Yeah, I would say probably don't bring any physical handouts, but if you wanted to do QR code, you could. Certainly not required. And I think mine at the time, this is old now, but it linked to like a blog post that I had on my website.
I think it's great, a place to engage people further. And especially on the fly when you go to a poster session and there's so many.
Hmm.
Right.
And that's what they talked about in the video, is that you really want to get an idea of what's the new research happening. And it's frustrating. You realize after 3 or 4, there's not enough time.
I mean, the goal is to attract people who would be interested in your work. You wouldn't want to go overboard and attract everyone, and then when they dug in, they're like, "Oh, I don't care about this." You want
Right.
your audience, or your research audience, I guess.
Yes, good
Um,
point, Stephen. I think that's what the headline should do, rather than appeal to the world. That's bad marketing practice anyway.
And keep in mind, right, you're probably going to have mostly clinical posters. So just our subject matter alone will draw some attention. So
Mhm.
it'll all be good. Don't overthink it is my thing. Do what you think is going to work and look best. Don't feel compelled to stay within the fielding guidelines 100%.
the gall of telling a class full of PhD students not to overthink it.
That's what I tell people
PhD
on their
perfectionist.
dissertations too. When they ask me for advice on dissertations, don't overthink it.
I have to struggle harder not to overthink than to just let my brain wrap around it for
Just
4 extra
know
minutes.
this is being recorded, so no one takes this out of context, but just remember for anyone who's ever been, especially been at a fielding event, right? It's a hallway or a room with a lot of posters. If you are not a presenter, you're probably just gonna be like, I guess I should go look at the posters, or I need a break. I'm just gonna walk around for a few minutes. No one is super there to see the posters. So all you're trying to do is put something up on the wall or on wherever it's affixed to that makes someone stop for 2 seconds, put down their phone, because they're probably walking around looking at the posters while on their phone, and just go, oh, and then you jump in and you talk to them for a couple of minutes, and you can get a feel if there's someone you might want to talk to later. That is all you are trying to do. That is your goal. To get someone to stop for 2 seconds, seem interested, and then you talk to them. Because even worse is when they stop and then they just start reading your poster and you're standing there going, all you're trying to do is get them to stop, look at what you're doing, and then you start a conversation.
Beautiful. I mean, I think that that's really captures the essence of it, Perry. And yeah, like I think it's really smart to think about the affordances of what's going on, and it is super laid back. And the other people that are going to be there, you'll have some fielding faculty, right, and some adjacent-ish people, right, that might be, thinking about it more or less intensely, I guess. But most of the people being there are going to be other students like you, and they're going to have the exact same goals. And so, remember that it's a pretty relaxed setting, and it's a super, welcoming setting. It's not as intense as, I mean, I'm sure, Perry, when you gave this poster at APA, you were in a giant conference hall and there are hundreds of posters and everybody's like walking in lines. Like it's a very, it's a much more intense environment and nerve-wracking environment than the fielding environment. So there'll be a handful, couple dozen maybe posters. People are standing around. It's super chill. There's going to be snacks. There's going to be drinks. People are going to be, just happy to be there and happy to be mingling with other folks from fielding and seeing what other people are up to. So, keep that in the back of all your minds too. And as Perry said, it's just about catching someone's attention. Hopefully, someone that's going to offer, have something right that will either springboard a conversation or give you insight into resources or something that maybe you hadn't thought about before. And that's really what we're looking for.
Yeah. And Jesse and Stephen, you're both going to be there, right? One thing I'd suggest too is at the start, if there's prep time, you can do it
Yeah.
then too, or if it's while the poster is going, one of you walk away for a few minutes and go talk to other people.
Mhm.
And then when they come around, they're going to want to stop and talk to you because you talk to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the plant and I'm
Brownie.
just gonna walk around and be like, this is great research. Did you see the one about nostalgia? And then
Yeah, as the
That's
extrovert of the
fantastic.
pair, that's Jesse's job for sure.
yeah, and then I'm
No,
just
I-
gonna direct the traffic to you, Steven, and then you take
Yeah.
it home. I'm gonna bring my karaoke machine. I'm gonna bring a little mic. I'm gonna interview people. It's gonna be a big deal. No, I won't do that.
Who needs PR when we got Jesse?
Well, I know we're coming up to the top of this hour, so we should probably switch. And then we've already been talking about the MTV study, but switch formally.
Also, Aaron, that picture was great. Sorry, I just needed to shout out to that
No,
picture
that-
in the chat.
Another easy way to try and get the idea across.
Mhm.
All right. Why don't we take a couple minute bio break and then we'll start up for those who are staying for the MTV study.
You know,
Okay. Have a good afternoon, folks.
bye.